Hey everyone, this is Brett Favre, Green Bay Packers Super Bowl champion, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source of the Packers time zone. Go Packers.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Jacob in Wisconsin on this glorious February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday, as obviously the big game's ready to get kicked off this evening. Hopefully everybody's having a great day here. Had a great weekend so far. I want to first and foremost apologize. No show yesterday. I thought I had prepped everyone to say, hey, look, we're not doing a show, but had several people reach out. No show tonight. So obviously I did a piss poor job communicating that I was going out of town. So we're back today. We're contemplating going live later this evening for kind of a semi-watch party for the Super Bowl. I just got to check with my boss and make sure she's okay with it because she probably got plans for us as well. But Jacob, how you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing great, actually. We talked a little bit off air. Woke up early. I got a lift in, got a little tan. And if you look out, if anybody is in the Hudson, Wisconsin / anywhere around us, if you look up in the sky, you may see like 30 to 50 hot air balloons. They do what's called the Hudson Hot Air Affair. Usually it gets the weather doesn't let the balloons actually take off, but we're sitting at about like 5 degrees above zero, and there's like 30 or 40 of them right now. If you just look up in the sky, it's pretty cool.
That is awesome, man. That's good stuff. And it was actually fairly nice down here yesterday. We've hit the 70s a couple times this month. And I think we've got a little bit of bad weather on the horizon, but once we get past these next couple storms here, I think it's going to be pretty much spring. Of course, you'll get the blackberry winters and all that stuff that all the old timers talk about. But yeah, good to see everybody following in the chat. Appreciate y'all making us a part of your morning here. Josh Martin had a comment. I was trying to understand it completely. He says, Jason Wilde from Milwaukee Sports Radio is saying I'm assuming he's talking about Wilde. Of course, Wilde I don't think is at Milwaukee. I think he's maybe he was just a guest on there. He's in the Madison area, or Green Bay, Madison. But is saying he heard the Rams will be paying Kupp his $8 million roster bonus as a thank you. His cap goes from 20 to 12 million. Kupp is a better option than Tay now. Yeah, if what you're saying, Josh, is that you thought Cooper Kupp wouldn't be a receiver for the Rams if they were to pursue Tay, I disagree there. That was something that if you're going to bring in Tay, you could tell the goal was, bringing Tay in as an extra piece if they were going to do that. And it sounds like Tay has now shown a little bit of interest. We'll get into that in terms of playing for a West Coast team and possibly Green Bay as well. But yeah, in terms of paying Kupp his $8 million roster bonus as a thank you, his cap goes from 10 to 12 million. Kupp is a better option than Tay now. I think what he might be referring to here, Jacob. And when you guys throw these comments, throw a little more context in there to let us know exactly your opinion on what you'd like us to hit. Is he saying Kupp could go to Green Bay easier now because of the fact that they're going to pay that roster bonus? Is that the way you're understanding that? Or because the roster bonus is due when you make the roster as a regular season,
Right.
begins, camp kind of breaks there. I don't know if he's saying that they're just going to convert that to guaranteed money as a thank you and then still ship him off, or if they're planning on keeping him. How are you interpreting that, man? I'm a little confused.
I read it as I think he's saying it's more likely that Kupp could land in Green Bay. Yeah, there you go. Okay. That's a
Good deal. Got it. So I think what Josh is saying, we'd have to dive into all the details there, which we got a bunch of other stuff planned this morning. Maybe we could do that on a later show. Is it would make it a little more cap friendly for the Packers. If you're saying that Kupp is now a better option than Tay, which is I think what he said, a better option than Tay now. If Tay ends up in Green Bay, it's not going to be for $30 million. It's going to be a much cheaper contract. So to say that Kupp is a better option than Tay now, I got to kind of hold off on that for a minute because we don't know what Tay's cap number would be. Tay's basically due a bunch of salary, which we know the Jets are not going to pay him that $30-something million salary. That's going to get converted, cut in half, or he's just going to get released outright to free up that money, I would imagine. So let's just to make the conversation much easier here, Jacob, let's say the money is the same. You could get both cap numbers the same, right? Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams. Forget everybody else. You have to choose between those two. Which one would you rather have, Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams, for obviously what's going to be probably 1 to 3 years, I would imagine?
Oh, that's a tough one, honestly. If you got to make the decision right now, pull the trigger, I'd still probably go Tay.
Okay.
I don't know. Honestly, I'd go back and forth on that. As soon as it left my mouth, I was like, nah, Kupp.
Right.
But I think right now, probably Tay, but I mean, you're talking that's a Sophie's choice, man. I don't know. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, here was the grades from last year, and I removed the minimum snaps so you could see some of the guys that didn't get a whole lot of snaps that still graded out well as well. So if they don't have the number next to them, that's one of those players, okay? So let's go down here and see if we can find Cooper Kupp or Devontae Adams first. So we're looking for Rams logos. We're looking for Jets logos here, right? Let's see who pops up first. There's Chargers.
Did we skip them already?
Did we skip him? No, yeah, there we go. Devontae Adams, 30. So he's 31st, according to PFF, at a 75.8 was his PFF grade. All right. So still obviously a solid player, not in the 80s and 90s like you had seen in the past. Now let's go looking for our boy Cooper Kupp. Where's Cooper Kupp at? LA Rams. Man, is he that low, or did we pass him up too?
Surely we passed him. We had to have passed him, right?
Yeah, surely Cooper Kupp was higher than that.
Cooper, my little cup. You remember when Mike Berry used to call him that all the time?
Yeah. I don't see him, man.
I don't see him, dude. He's got to be down there in the. He's past Reed.
Let's do this. Let me see if I can just, when you go to the search engine, it can get a little.
There he is, 50. He's tied for 50th or around the 50 mark there.
Didn't have to search.
Just below Jaden Reed. How about that?
Yeah. And that's the thing about Cooper Kupp is like to me, he's grading out right there in that ballpark of the players we already got. You know, your people like Christian Watson, your people like, obviously Watson, you got to kind of set him to the side. Going to be out a large chunk of the season next year. Romeo Dobbs, right? You said Jaden Reed. Players like that. It's like Cooper Kupp performed at about that level. Let's take a look. Keep in mind too, he had Puka Nacua on the other side from him too. So now you can make the argument that the reason Puka Nacua had such a great year, he was the highest graded receiver, was because Cooper was on the other side for a portion of that season as well, right? So you got to take that into consideration. But when you look at Cooper Kupp's all of his numbers here over the years, you had starting in 2017, a 76, a 77, 74, 81, 93, 86, 71, 71. So you just go off the last 2 years, it looks like the new standard, the new norm for him is right around that 71 mark. Take it for what it is, right? Now let's go back to Tay and look at what he's done recently, because there's the vibe I get when you talk wide receiver online, Jacob, is Devontae Adams is the one that's fallen off, right? Yeah. And I want to see if there's any truth to that. Again, you seen where Cooper Kupp kind of landed. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's definitely
tapering off, right? Yeah.
It's tapering, but it's not as drastic, I don't think, as Cooper's though.
Right. His grades throughout the course of his career, starting in 2014, 63, 59, 72, 80, 87, 88, 92, 92, 90, 79, 75. So let's go off his last 2 years, 79, 75. What you're seeing is both of them are regressing according to PFF. It's just Devontae's still playing at a little bit higher level than Cooper Kupp is. So, again, we talk about what if the money's similar. You can get them both for about the same, right? And that's a very, very lazy way of presenting this argument. I'm just trying to differentiate. Let's say it was the same salary. Which player would you prefer? I would lean toward Devontae Adams. And Devontae Adams, both receivers have played in this offense, right? The Sean McVay kind of style offense. So that would be easy to pick up for both of them. I guess the question becomes, what do you want in the receiver you're going to pick up? Like, what role are they going to play? It's easy for all of us, and I'm as guilty as anyone. You get kind of lost in the fog of war, and I want this player, like as if they're all going to do the same thing. You got to think in terms of deployment as well. You know, are they similar in terms of deployment? We've seen Tay can play the slot, Tay can move around, Tay can do everything you need a receiver to do. I feel like Cooper Kupp can as well. Now, which one is more likely to take the top off the defense? If you go off recent memory, I remember Devontae last year had 1 or 2 plays where he took the top off, believe it or not. That's not to say he's got blazing speed. He just very manipulative at the top of the stem of the route, and being able to create separation when he needs to. So it's a fascinating conversation, though.
Yeah, I think too that we have to remember again. Look at this stint from 2017. He's the 13th, the 8th, the 4th, the 1st, the 2nd in 2021 overall, the 4th overall in 2022, and even in 2023 when he's in the Raiders franchise with a carousel of really crappy quarterbacks. I think he had 3 different starters, if not more. He's still ranked 79.1 with 21st overall. I think that should have an asterisk next to it in a positive way, because that decline I don't think would be that pronounced if he either has a Rodgers or a Love throwing it to him.
Yeah. Yeah. Drew D says, at Josh Martin, that would drop it to around 12 million this coming year, but it would still be 20 million the year after that. So the average to 16 million per year, which is too much in my opinion. And the other thing you got to take into consideration too, Drew, is when can you get out? I imagine you can get out at any moment and free up significant cap space. You'll still absorb some kind of penalty, I'm sure. But if you haven't given them any more guaranteed money, you guys correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. If it's just when a player is traded or leaves the team and goes to another club, whatever guaranteed money they were given outside of a roster bonus, which it sounds like they're going to eat some of the roster bonus to make it more trade friendly, that's going to stick with the current team, accelerate to that year, and that's wiped off the book. So the only thing Green Bay's on the hook for will be the non-guaranteed money. So that would suggest you could get out of it at any point. Now, I think what the point Drew's making here as well is if you're going to give up draft compensation, and we just giving it up for a player that's going to stay for 1 year or 2 years, right? If that's the case, then these numbers definitely apply. You got to know how much you're going to be on the books for. And you can free that up. Let's say that every bit of that is going to be just strictly salary, just to keep it very, very simplistic way of having this conversation. If that's the case, then you can always go cash over cap, convert a portion of it to guaranteed money, and then that's going to lower the cap number. Although that's going to be fully guaranteed from them that year, you're still kind of taking advantage of both worlds there. So, yeah, it's going to be cool to see how this all plays out at the wide receiver position, because I know this, Jacob, there's been more talk this offseason about wide receiver 1 than ever, in my opinion, around the Packers. I could be wrong. I know it's always been a topic every year, especially with the first round. Is this the year they finally take a receiver with the first round pick? But, man, I don't know. It feels like this is a little different. There's a lot more names being thrown out there that are on the market in free agency or possibly could be traded. It seems like there's a little more buzz around it. Maybe that's us knucklehead fans blowing it out of proportion, though.
I think that's fair to say in a certain aspect. I think the Packer fans are always chittering. A certain population of Packer fans are usually screaming about the number 1 receiver, blah, blah, blah. But I think it's fair to say that I haven't remembered a consensus of Packer fans, it seems like it is this year, that are just like, yeah, we need a number 1, to the point where even players are saying it and coaches are being asked about it. But yeah, I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying there, for sure. See if it'll let us pop back out of here. Of course, it reset. Glorious. You guys are awesome. Unbelievable. So what I was going to do is try to go back through and look at a couple other receivers if I can get it to pop up here for us.
You can do that. In the meantime, Blake B's got a comment that says, I know most of you hate this matchup, like me. I'm pretty sure like Clayton. It is the last real football we get till training camp. So have some good food, a few cocktails, and some beers, and enjoy it. I'm going to try to do that 100%. I was not going to watch this game. I swear I was going to boycott it. But some new information came in, and now I want to watch for some entertainment value. There's going to be hopefully some good commercials. It sounds like they're not going to be as, stupid as they were in previous years. And I've never been a halftime guy. I don't know about you, but I don't care about the halftime.
So it sounds like absolute dog crap. Like yeah, I mean, of course, I grew up in the era when it was like
Michael Jackson. That was awesome. That was
Michael Jackson crushed it. Whether you like Michael Jackson or not, and I know he's a controversial figure. On one side, people claim he's the best person in the world. On the other side, people think he's an absolute creep.
What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Let's not get into it, Jacob.
All right, fine.
Tim's not on the show. We're skirting the line so close this whole show. But yeah, like I said, I'll probably tune in as well for some of that stuff. And again, if I don't have plans, may do a watch party just to kind of hang out in here and talk Packers as we go through it. Ron Sample says Cup is still requiring a draft choice. Take the one that gets released. See, that's kind of where I'm at, Ron. And the same thing with the edge position, right? Like Khalil Mack's on the market if they don't franchise tag him or they don't re-sign him. That's the dude I'm most interested in. So you ain't having to give up draft capital. It'd be different if it was hands down, this is the better player. But when you look at what Khalil Mack and Myles Garrett have both done, kind of comparatively speaking, I think Mack can be just as much of as that dominant player as Myles Garrett can at this point. And Myles Garrett's going to take – if the Browns let go again, man, the way that contract is structured, boys, I don't, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens behind the scene and they adjust it and finagle, massage, whatever you want to say, the salary cap to be able to make it a little more appealing to teams. But if it, as it sits right now, man, I don't see the Browns just eating all that dead cap. But if there's a team in the league that's stupid enough to do it, it's them. How do you feel about that, though, Jacob? Take the one that's released, kind of, let's say that. And that's why I drew the conversation of Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp. Forget everything else. You just got to pick whichever player. Let's say that in this case, Devontae Adams is released and you have to trade for Cooper Kupp. I feel like Tay Adams, it's such a close conversation that Tay Adams would be more appealing. And vice versa too, right? Like if the Jets said, no, you got to trade for Tay, but Cooper Kupp somehow got cut, I'd probably feel better about signing Kupp than trying to trade for Adams,
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I guess, it all depends on the deal and the trade and the draft pick that would be included and all that all the caveats there. But to go back to real quick, what you were talking about with Khalil Mack, that was one where I completely agree with you. And my little brother and I had a conversation yesterday, which if you guys know, he's a very pessimistic, very kind of clickbaity type fan, which he's great. You fan how you want to fan, but he brought up, he goes, man, if we could get a Garrett or a Crosby, it'd really be the difference maker. And I went, yeah. And then I went into the contracts and all that. And then I said, how about Khalil Mack, though? And then I gave him the pitch. I gave him the spiel. And by the end of the conversation, he's like, you're right. Khalil Mack's the guy. That's the guy we got to target. And I'm like, all right, we're making some positive ground here. We're getting there, man.
With that being said here, the first day that the franchise tag can be slapped on a player, I think it's around the 18th. Watch them just hit him right out the gate.
Man.
Now, listen, it would be a little bit like, oh, crap, but now you can check that off the list. We don't talk about that anymore. We put that to the side and move on. All right, what's the next option? But I'm with you, man. That's kind of how I see that for sure. Judy says, I have a feeling Goot is going to listen. Is going to sign someone in free agency that nobody is talking about. That wouldn't surprise me a bit. But what's the precedent there, right, Drew? That's what we gotta keep coming back to, man. When was the last time the Packers signed someone in free agency that you went, who? Right? Who? I'm trying to think,
I mean, would you consider Rasul or Campbell one of those types of picks where you're like,
Rasul, I think they traded for him.
Traded,
right?
That's right.
Yeah. Campbell, did they trade for Campbell or did they sign Campbell? They signed Campbell,
I thought they signed him.
Yeah. That would be one. That's there's precedent there for sure. If that were the case, I'm pretty sure they traded for Rasul because they traded like a later round pick and then ended up flipping it to a third after using him for a year or two. So
I think that makes sense.
That's how I remember that conversation going. But yeah, I
sure
think there's a fit for anything. But yeah, Jimmy Graham, Martellus Bennett were surprises. What's that? What's that IRC mean?
I don't know. I'm not cool anymore, man.
I know. Maybe he's saying Irk. He might be saying Irk. Yeah, but see, Jimmy Graham, like that's. To me, that wasn't a no name, and that didn't come out of nowhere because people at the time, people were talking about, we got to get Aaron a big target. We got to get him. Jimmy Graham was a dominant tight end in New Orleans, right? Martellus Bennett, I knew who Martellus Bennett was. I could see how some fans, would be like, who, but I followed him pretty closely throughout his career. So that was not like a whoa surprise because it seemed like every year we were trying to do that as a team, right? We were trying to find that big target that's cheaper. Remember, Jared Cook was another one, like that tight end that they brung in for just a short stint. So I could see how some people would think that, though, Drew, for sure. Philip Rude says, just to let you know, you all are a refreshing time from the other pods, more in-depth and silly at times. I appreciate that, Philip Rude. Appreciate you so much for saying that, man. We try to talk about the things that matter, but we also, that's the thing, we're not, you won't see the narcissist cam here. You guys know what I'm talking about, the narcissist cam when people go live, and it's just, let me hit you with the narcissist cam.
Don't do it, man. Don't do
it. Here we go. This is the narcissist cam.
Please don't. I'm sweaty. Oh, man. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I want to get as close to the camera as I can so everyone sees my face real good.
Yeah.
That's stuff. I ain't gonna lie. It's like, bub, That's why I'm like, let's put a background of Lambeau back there. That's what people love. They don't want to stare at our ugly mugs that close. But yeah, and again, it's just ran by the fans. That's all this is, man. This is the fans trying to pick through and figure out, all right, what's going on, which direction are the Packers going to go in. Yeah, that type of stuff. So I can see how some fans would think it's boring and never tune in and think the show sucks, because there's some people that love the clickbaity stuff, the hot button topics, all those. We're going to try to bring a logical approach to, hey, how may this play out? Another thing that got released earlier today, this morning, I believe it was, Adam Schefter put a tweet out, and I may scroll through the tweets in a minute and you'll see it. But Jacob, they were talking about Deebo Samuel is officially on the trade market. So it looks like San Francisco is now shopping Deebo Samuel. I put the tweet up asking the question, the fans kind of like, hey, what do you guys think? I know for me it was a hard no, but here's the thing too. It's how I run my Twitter. I try not to persuade people when I put a tweet up. I want an honest reaction of, hey, how do people feel about this? So I don't want it to be like, hey, guys, do you agree with me or not? You know? So, man, I put it up and everybody's like, hell no, hard no, no way, not doing it. I'm thinking, whew, thank God we're all on the same page here. Because for me with Deebo, it just, man, it's not there. Let's see if we can find him on this list, man. As he's definitely not. Now, there's Brandon Ayuk in the 33 spot at 74.6, right?
Right.
Let's keep moving on down the list here. Deebo Samuel, 52nd, so 70.9. Now, here's what's crazy. Everybody's saying no, right? But look how close he is to Cooper Kupp. You see what I'm saying? They're not that different. They're really not. And I agree. For me, it's a no on both those guys.
Well, and he's smack in the middle of Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs as well. You know what I mean? Like you just said, why are we going to overpay for what we have on the roster? And just a really quick circle back, the Packers got Douglas off of the practice squad of Arizona on October 6th, 2021.
That's what it was. So that was a practice squad signing. That was during the season. That's why I was thinking it was a trade.
Yep.
There you go. So obviously that wasn't free agency. That was more, I mean, technically free agency, but in-season free agency, a practice squad player. What a steal that was. When did they get Devondre Campbell? Do you know? Remember how that worked out?
I think it was from Arizona again, wasn't it? Or no, was it?
It was Atlanta, but I'm trying to think if he was actually was it in season or was it? Let's see here, Devondre Campbell. Let me just type it in. Devondre Campbell signs with Packers. It'll probably bring up his contract extension more than anything.
Yeah.
It's showing his sign. He's a Cancer. So it's his Cancer sign, his zodiac sign. Ironic, huh?
I was gonna say. Hey.
There's the re-signing to release, keep. Yeah, everything is just all about re-signing that I'm getting here.
I can find it.
Last in the organization. Anyway, if somebody in the chat can remember, let us know how we acquired Devondre Campbell. Was it off-season free agency? Was it during the season? Oh, that Trudy said Cancer and crab. There you go. Which sums it up. So Deebo Samuel, I think you made it pretty clear, Jacob. That's a no for you, dog.
No.
Again, his PFF grade 77, 79, 90, 74, 85, 70. Now, if we were to play devil's advocate for a minute, he of the three players that we just listed, Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, and Cooper Kupp, Deebo is the only player of those three that is graded out in the 80s in one of the last 2 years, which was in 2023. So I'm not going to sit here and go, I don't understand how anybody would like that. But I like what you said, that he kind of is that type of player that we already have on the roster. You know, you need that to play boundary X.
Drew Campbell, Devondre.
So that's one. So Drew, to answer your own question from earlier, that's definitely one, right? Nobody's seen that one coming, I don't think. So that could be it, right? Maybe Goody has someone similar to that. If you're kind of looking at it in that direction. So I'm glad we bring that up. Sure. Thank you for looking that up, Drew. That's the poster child for the comment that you made right there. Anything else you want to add on Deebo Samuel here, Jacob, before we move forward?
Nah, I'm good on Deebo. That's a no for me.
All right. Josh Martin said, is Christian Wilkins' contract from the Raiders tradable? I'd rather have him than Crosby. I say a third and a fifth this year, along with the second next year. I want to say that's the first of a 4-year deal, Josh. Let me look it up real quick. Christian Wilkins obviously was the 3-tech of free agency last year that everyone was raving over. So let me see if I can pull up his contract. I may not put it on the screen. Well, I guess I could put it on the screen if we can get it to make sense here. Spot Track's really weird. It's like it's very difficult to get it to fit on the screen properly where you can see everything. Makes it a little bit interesting, but let's see here. Let's see if we can pull up Christian Wilkins. Obviously, like I said, he was from Miami last year, big free agent acquisition. They're going to the Raiders. So when you look at his contract as it sits right now, Josh, Christian Wilkins is 20. He's going to be 30 years old if he's not already 30 this year. Okay. The way his salary cap is structured is, see how you got to go out really, really wide here to get to the cap hit and everything. That's what I was trying to prevent. So his cap hit for 2025 is 33.5 million. The dead cap is 47.7. So essentially, just the very layman's terms of explaining how that sits right now with no restructures or anything is if the Raiders traded him, they're not only are they going to eat a ton of dead cap, but it's going to be 14 million more than his cap hit if he was on the roster. So that's why, to me, it makes more sense for him to stay on the Raiders roster, if that makes sense. So now, again, have weirder things happen? Yeah, they have. But I would not anticipate that. Like, you see where they put the potential out between 2026 and 2027. And what they mean by that is when you get to that point, 30.5 million is the cap hit in 2027, and the dead cap attached is only 9.6. So I would say no, Josh. I don't think there's a realistic shot that Christian Wilkins could potentially be dealt. Just my opinion. And plus, with Pete Carroll going in there, I guarantee you he's looking at that going, hey, there's my 3-tech. I've already got my 3-tech, So I could see that as well. So hopefully that answers your question there. All right, moving along. Josh, thank you for the super chat, bud. Appreciate you. So let me earmark that time frame. We might be able to edit that out for the people on the pod so they ain't get to listen to us fumble there for 2 minutes, somewhere around that mark. All right. So yeah, with Christian Wilkins, I don't see it happening. I think it's a good question. I love that people are thinking, hey, what are the potential there? Because we're talking about getting a 3-tech, which I do want to say this. I think it's hilarious that all of a sudden some of the experts are now talking about, we actually need an interior defensive line if you think about it. As if we haven't been saying that for 2 months now. But anyway, everybody was too busy bitching and moaning over Rashawn Gary, and now all of a sudden they realize, oh, crap, he wasn't that bad, and our interior defensive line sucked. So, all right. Moving along. So we talked wide receiver there. Let's go to Twitter, and let's go over to Twitter where things aren't so toxic, Jay. Tom Brady made a good point here. I love this video. I'm going to throw up a screen grab. I want to play about a 2-minute clip of Tom Brady talking here. If you actually, I'll get it right here. I've got it right now. Let's just throw that up there on the screen. So here was Tom Brady, and I believe he was talking to, I can't remember whose podcast he was on. Stephanie Smalls tweeted this out at Steffi Smalls. But this is Tom Brady just talking about preparation for playing the quarterback position. This is something that I hope Jordan Love takes to the next level, because it is so freaking important. We're always talking about the fancy throws, and the decision making is huge. Don't get me wrong. Like the interceptions, you got to clean those up. Jordan's got to clean those up. But there's certain aspects of the game that I think many people let it go over their head. And it's easy to look at Tom Brady and just go, oh, they cheated. That's the only reason they won. I want you to listen at the things he says about preparing for the Chiefs' defense in the latter part of his career.
How important it is to actually win this game. So my last year in my last Super Bowl I was a part of, I was 2 weeks of watching film. Friday night, I was just going through the film more. I knew Kansas City's defense better than they knew themselves. I knew their body movements, the way their linebackers moved, the way their safeties moved. Tyrann Mathieu, Nick Sorensen, Shavarius Ward. I knew everything they were doing. I got out there on the field. I looked up as I was walking the line of scrimmage, I said, okay, they're blitzing. And then I was dealing with it right away. I walked up. I said, okay, they're going to bail to cover 2. Ball was snap, cover 2. And I knew I had the answers to the test. That's where I was great. That's where my magic superpower was. It wasn't how fast I could run. It was how fast I could diagnose what they were doing. What's the special quality? What's the internet speed of me as a quarterback? Fast as I was Starlink before Starlink. Now other guys, if it's a slow processing speed, well, he's going to get you. And the reality is I could figure out what they were doing before they did it, because that's how I learned to play the game. And that's how I believe most quarterbacks should play the game. Unfortunately, as we've talked about, most quarterbacks aren't playing the game like that anymore. They're fast when they get out of the pocket, when they have to make decisions. But I didn't snap the ball unless I knew what they were doing. And if my guys were going to be open, the one benefit you have as a quarterback, before you snap the ball, you know where everybody on your team is running. If you have 5 eligibles out in the route, I know where all 5 are going. If I look at the defense and I say, none of my guys are going to be open based on this coverage, we didn't design the play for this coverage, I don't need to snap the ball. I can run something different. I can check to a run. I can check to a screen. I can signal a receiver and change a route. And then I would just change the route to a route that I thought would be open. I'd catch the ball, I'd throw it, and it'd be a 15-yard gain. Everyone would be like, God, you just look so easy. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's easy because you're not paying attention to the right thing.
Right.
What's going on in here is what my superpower was. That was Peyton Manning's superpower. That was Drew Brees' superpower. Those were the guys that I tried to be like. That's what we did a great job of. So that part of the game is what I am really fascinated by. And when I see players play like that, those are the guys that I think have the most upside.
All right. So obviously Tom Brady talking about 2 aspects of being a quarterback there that we've mentioned several times before. I'll say the 4 most important things that a quarterback needs to have, especially when you're doing draft evaluation. And it's how I've done it 2 years in a row. I haven't done it yet this year, but there was the year before and the year before that, somebody had asked me, who's your favorite quarterback in the draft? So I went through and watched the tape and came up with these 4 things and graded each of the quarterbacks on it. And it's pre-snap decision, right? Pre-snap awareness, no one understanding what the defense is in. Post-snap awareness, meaning, okay, after the ball snapped, how do they adjust to what the defense is now doing? Because those are 2 different things. And you got accuracy and you got quick release. Tom Brady had all 4 of those things. Tom Brady didn't have a cannon for an arm. He didn't have a Brett Favre arm. He didn't have a Dan Marino arm. He didn't have Jordan Love. He didn't have a Jordan Love arm. Tom Brady did not. Jordan Love threw a ball. What was it? I can't remember the speed last year. 61 miles an hour.
61.4 miles per hour.
The most in the NFL. The fastest thrown, the hardest thrown football in the NFL in the next gen stats era. Right. Tom Brady didn't have that cannon, but what Tom Brady had was timing. He had rhythm. And all that comes from understanding pre-snap what they're trying to do to you, understanding now post-snap. When he said, as soon as they sink the 2, I know where I'm going with. I know, oh yeah, that's right, that's cover 2. Like understanding those things. He had a quick release, and man, he had pinpoint accuracy. It was very rare that you seen Tom Brady just kind of a target. So I don't know, Jacob. When I look at Jordan Love, he's got all the arm talent in the world. He's going to be healthy next year, which we've now got triple and quadruple confirmation. There were still people during the season saying, he's not hurt. Quit saying he's still hurt. That's making excuses. And then he upsets the groin, playing on the bad knee. All that stuff comes into play. That's going to mess with your mechanics as well, your accuracy, as well as your ability to scramble. When he gets that scrambling ability back, Jacob, he's going to be deadly like he was the year before in that regard. But what I want him to really get a grab of is this stuff right here. And that's where none of us know if Jordan is diving in at that level or if he's not diving at that level. The reality is he may be looking at this and studying it harder than Tom Brady ever did this offseason. That could be the case too. I hope that's the case because this is something I think that's missing from like a Josh Allen's game, maybe even Lamar Jackson's game, someone like that, who obviously those are your 2 leading MVP candidates. Understanding what's going on around you and making the right decisions is the most important aspect of playing quarterback. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And I, like he talks about the Breezes, the Peyton Mannings, you know what I mean? Those guys that are always going to be considered probably the greatest of the greats. They did have the ability. It seems like they did the F then method where it'd be like, if this player does this, then I'm doing this. And he had it almost like it was a checkerboard. You know what I mean? Where he'd watch these guys make a move and he knew that whatever dictated that guy to do something, he's going to now do this instead. And I feel like Jordan Love, like you talked about, he's got the physical attributes. He's got the processing speed. It just needs to be put together and he needs to not be hurt. I hate that excuse that people always throw around, but it's a real excuse. I mean, if you can't make the kind of moves that your body expects to be able to make. Your brain is still processing at that type of speed. It's not syncing up the right way. I think with a little bit of off-season rehab, when he gets hopefully another shot at a great wide receiving core, if we could even add to it, hopefully we will. I think that he just takes another step. It's because technically, isn't this kind of his third year as far as being the guy? I mean, I know it's technically like his fifth or sixth or whatever it is, but like this is kind of that where you want to see the biggest jump. In my opinion, we're going to see a lot this year. If Jordan stays healthy, we need to see him make a considerable leap to see if he really is that guy. Right here, yeah. J. Cole was saying the same thing.
Yep. Third year starting as well. Yeah. J. Cole said the game will slow down for J. Love next season, in my opinion. It should. Yep. It should, Jay. But here's the thing. And I'm not saying you're saying this. I'm just kind of thinking out loud. People say that. Fans will say that as if, oh, it's just going to slow down the more he plays. You have to put in the work to study and understand what these defenses are doing. And I'm not talking about just the 10. This is where people's probably taking this the wrong way. I'm not saying Jordan Love's sleeping in the meetings. I'm not saying he's not taking it serious in the meetings. We're talking about what Tom Brady was talking about there. He wasn't talking about clocking in and doing his job at the facility. This dude was studying it around the clock. The great Peyton Manning probably studied it way more than Tom Brady did, right? That's the stuff that you hope Jordan is doing in the background. And there's no reason to think he isn't. So don't take this the wrong way. I'm simply saying if he does that, if he really lets this whole thing kind of take over his life and every ounce of energy he's got in his spare time goes into truly understanding what you're trying to do. Because when you heard us talk about we're late to the T swing, he's late to the T swing. Man, he's late to the second window on the slot cross, or he's late to the second window on the dagger. That isn't something like, oh, crap, Jordan just doesn't have it. That's why when people make comments that Jordan's not the guy, it's like that's such a lazy way of describing what's going on. You can make a decision to go, all right, I'm going to be the most prepared, intelligent quarterback the league has ever seen by just making a decision and completely investing yourself into, I'm going to understand and study every aspect of this. When he was late to the T swing, that had nothing to do with lack of athletic ability. It had nothing to do with lack of arm talent. It had nothing to do with lack of intelligence. What it had was lack of preparation and understanding. If that guy sinks in a cover two to the curl flat, if he sinks to the curl flat instead of the hard flat, that damn ball has got to come out the second he takes one half a step back to get it to the tee to set up that play to work the way. Instead, it was glance over, look back, oh, crap, now let's throw to the lead swing. Now, by the end of the year, he started to kind of put that together. He started getting it to the lead swing earlier. Same thing with the dagger. You know, when you're running that dagger where the 2 is going vert and the 1 is the dig, the deep dig. In some cases, it'd be a 14 to 15 yard dig and not a 7 to 8 yard dig. So when that happens, that ball has got to come out the second that the safety declares that he's going vert with the 2. The ball has got to be out on time. And when it's late, guess what happens? That's where you end up throwing behind the receiver. And I'll tell you something else that happens that we love to rake the wide receivers over the coals with is when they drop that pass, well, it hit him in the hands. He needs to catch it. Are we going to talk about the fact that the ball came out late? I'm just saying. And again, that's not to pass blame on Jordan over the receivers. They need to catch the ball, obviously. I'm saying it's a lot deeper than that. And that's what Tom Brady is talking about, is because that timing, man, if you're off a split second because you don't understand exactly what the defense is doing until they do it, you have to know at the same time what's going on the field, what might they potentially do, and the second they tip their hand, you got to pull the trigger and make that decision. That's all I'm saying. So I'm excited to see what he does in year 3, because if he grabs a hold of that aspect of the game, plus he's completely healthy now, and as Drew says here, I think it's a great point. He said Josh Jacobs admitted that Love was bothered by injuries all year. So it wasn't just Love mentioned, like teammates are coming out and saying it now. And again, you're going to get those emotional fans during the season that he's not, quit saying he's hurt. He's not hurt. I watched the dude limp around for a whole half of football, and you're convinced he's not hurt. What are we talking about? You think he's faking?
Well, and Josh Jacobs has shown that he's not just going to say stuff to fluff other guys up. If anything, he's going to say things that he's going to say them because they're true. to maybe light a fire underneath him. He hasn't said anything that about Love that's saying, he doesn't have the talent, he doesn't have the ability, he doesn't have the work ethic. He's never said anything like that whatsoever. So I think we should think about that. And plus, like you talked about, we saw it multiple times, whether it be a check down, like it's a T-swing, whatever. Love, the way he would contort his body just to make those quote unquote easy throws, it wasn't easy for him. And you'd see him almost leading guys, or like even with that Josh Jacobs run where it's iconic, where he hard jukes that guy out of his sneakers. That was a ball that probably a lot of running backs won't even be able to catch. You know what I mean? The way that he had to readjust and still was able to turn around and move it upfield. I think Jordan Love would admit more than anyone, because he's not an egotistical type of guy, that he needs to fix things, shore some things up with the mechanics. But, I think a couple people said it after I said it in the chat here. It's not an excuse. It's just what happened. He was playing hurt and he was gutting through it. And, he's played with two other quarterbacks that he's seen, and that he's in a long line of lineage where they don't, if you can play, get your butt out there and play. And it's not always going to be smooth and perfect and ideal, but I still have a lot of faith in Jordan Love. And I'm sure you guys talked. I mean, the Kay Adams, I think she literally said, "I love Jordan Love." So she posted or something like that.
He's incredible. I think is what she said.
So I mean, that's another part of it, who he is off the field. But I really do feel like him on the field, I still think he's a top 5 quarterback when he can put it all together.
Yeah, I do too, man. And again, he finished top 5 in QBR this year. Where, there's a portion of the fan base that talk like he was a bad football player this year. Like, man, you're fighting through an MCL, and then you aggravate the groin on top of the MCL because you're overcompensating, and you got your receivers lead the league in drops. I love that people are finally admitting about like the drops and allowing that to be in the conversation, because man, when Aaron was here, it was not accepted. You wasn't allowed to talk about it. You wasn't allowed to talk about the broken thumb. It was, man, that whole vaccination conversation it literally split the fan base in two, just like Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers back in the day. It was wild, absolutely wild. But Blake B says 25 teams would take Jay Love at quarterback right now. I think it's more than that, Blake, to be honest with you. I do. I think it's let's see. No, he's saying 25. No, that's right. Yeah, I was going to say you probably only got 10 teams. Yeah. A little less than 10 teams that are actually set at quarterback, right? Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I think that's fair. I'd say for sure 20. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, I completely agree. Yeah. Because again, you're looking for arm talent. You're looking for that dude that, okay, he can make every throw in the NFL. That's the hard thing to find, right? Is someone that can make every single throw, because if you can't make every single throw, you're really limited on what you can call and what you can run. But yeah, I completely agree with that, Blake. There probably is only, like you said, probably 7 teams that would say, no, we don't need him, right? So Drew D says, I'll never forget when he stopped to dig some random citizen out of the snow. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Come on, Jordan. Yeah.
Another thing, Jordan. Yeah, I remember that too on Twitter. Coach Lynn, Love is really coming to his own breakout year coming. I hope you're right, Coach. I hope you're right. And I could see it. I see when people make that comment, I can kind of see that being possible for sure, man. Again, you got a guy who's shown the upside. He's shown what he can be. What's his floor? That's the question. And you know what? Let's just do it. Let's go to the quarterback position real quick before we wrap up here. And let's look at Jordan Love. I was going to show a couple things on Twitter, but let's go this route instead since we're talking Love. I want to see kind of what's his – I like to set things in floor and ceiling, right? That's kind of how I like to look at things. What's his floor? What's his ceiling? And when you look at the top-graded players this year at the quarterback position, Jordan Love is going to come in right around the 20 spot according to PFF at a 75.8. All right, so, again, MCL – groin, all that stuff he dealt with, receivers, led the league in drops. If you go to his career, now 2021, I don't know how many snaps. Now, if you don't see a ranking, that means they did not have a significant amount of snaps, right? So in 2021, the grade was a 36.2, where we know he hardly ever played. 78.7, very similar. I want to say he played in 2 or 3 different games, so you got to kind of throw that out as well, right? So 2023 at 83.6, and this year 75.8. His floor is a 75, and his ceiling so far is an 83.6.
Yeah.
So if you were to say, what is he really? He's probably right in the middle. So you're probably talking 78 to 80, somewhere around there. PFF grade. Listen, if you can play quarterback in the NFL and consistently be graded in the upper 70s, lower 80s, now I know there's a portion of the fan base that's going to say, well, we're paying him like a top 3, a top 5. Guys, that's the market. The only other option was to let him walk into free agency. And I promise you, like we just said, like Blake said, 25 other teams would have been lined up at the door to go, hey, let's give him a contract, right? So that if that's the market, that's the market. If I were to say what's he actually worth, Jacob, where would you pay him at? Somewhere between 10 and 15th highest at the quarterback position is what I would say, Yeah. So, and if you were to look at the contract situation here on Spot Track, I won't put it on the screen, but I'm definitely going to put it in.
I think that's an interesting way of looking at stuff is everybody imagines when Jordan gets quote unquote paid or gets the quote unquote bag, they're like, oh man, that they overpaid. But you have to look at it as if there's a window of like, let's say 3 to 4 or 5 quarterbacks that are getting paid this year. If you were to line up 32 starting quarterbacks and say, we're going to pay them and everybody gets a contract starting today from day one, and we're going to pay them accordingly, like then we'd probably have an argument as to where Jordan Love falls on that spectrum. But like you said, that's just not how contracts work. There's a season for guys that were drafted. It depends on when you were drafted, what round, all that kind of stuff, and what that money makes sense. Like you said, you had to pay the guy. It's just that he was up for his dues. And we could talk about, I mean, look at what they did to quarterbacks like Danny Dimes and Deshaun Watson. And I mean, just guys that have absolutely raked that franchise over the coals that are now not even with them or are 3rd or 4th string. Right now, I think we're sitting all right.
Yeah.
Right here. Exactly. Yeah. Look at this.
Sorry. Yeah. Still a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, and he went like a month and a half without throwing one. There you go. So here is the salary cap hit for this upcoming year, 2025. Keep in mind, these may get adjusted. They probably will with restructures, okay? Dak Prescott, $89.8 million against the cap this year. That's the cap hit, okay, for 2025. Deshaun Watson, 72.9. Patrick Mahomes, 66.2. Derek Carr, 51.4. Matthew Stafford, 49.6. Joe Burrow, 46.2. Kyler Murray, 45.6. Josh Allen, 44.7. Geno Smith, 44.5. Lamar Jackson, 43.6. Kirk Cousins, who got benched, $40 million. Tua Tagovailoa, 39.4. Justin Herbert, 37.3. Baker Mayfield, 35.7. Jared Goff, 32.6. And Jordan Love is the 16th highest cap hit at the quarterback position at 29.7. Money well spent. Money well spent. And people will say, well, it's going to inflate as the years go on. Yes. And also the guaranteed money is trickling down. And that's where you get into restructuring and lowering that cap number as well. The same thing we did with Aaron his entire career when there were people trying to rake him over the coals saying he's selfish, right? Like those adjustments are going to happen. If you go back to 2024, let's just go back to last year. Where was Jordan Love on the cap hit last year, right? He was 12th at 20.7 when the season, basically the actual number that went on the books. So he was the 12th highest paid quarterback at $20.7 million. The year before, when he was the 12th highest graded player in the league in 2023, right? Where was he then? He was the 33rd highest cap hit at $4.4 million. So it's important to take all that and put it into perspective, right? Now, when you go to 26, when you look ahead, you're going to see it really, really jump up, right? In 26, I'm pretty sure. Maybe not. He's 15th and 26 at 36.1, James. So, again, money well spent. He's not worth the money. If you're saying he's not worth the money, then you're saying you don't want a starting quarterback in the NFL. That's what you're saying.
Right.
Unless it's a guaranteed first ballot Hall of Famer, right? There you go, Coach Lynn Goot working his magic again. And it's not just Goot, Coach. Russ Ball, right? Russ Ball handling the contractual aspect. There you go, Joseph. Perfect timing. Yeah, same thing. Russ Ball is the dude behind the scenes. Goot's saying, I want the player. And Russ is going, let's sprinkle a little magical dust on this contract and make it work. So it's amazing there are some fans, too, that think Russ Ball needs to be gone. I'm like, what did he do to make you so definitive in your opinion that he should not be the cap guy in Green Bay? It's just wild to think about. Like, what could have possibly happened? Because it was Goot's decision to move on from Aaron. If it's that $40-something million dead cap hit for Aaron when he left there in 2023, that's the other thing is like that cleans the books off for Aaron Rodgers' contract his last year in Green Bay, and then you're moving right on to the next franchise quarterback. So, and again, Jacob, you don't stop looking for the next great quarterback. If one falls in the first round this year, guys, in my opinion, there's two. If Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward somehow, some way fell to the Packers at 23, I would run the damn card to the podium. And that's what happened with Aaron Rodgers. The night before the draft, Aaron Rodgers was supposed to go to San Francisco with that top quarterback pick. And the day of, obviously, everybody was surprised. Alex Smith's the quarterback taken, and Aaron fell all the way into the 20s, if I remember correctly. So I'm just saying. And you know what may happen, Jacob, if that were to happen that way? You'd end up drafting one of those two guys. They would sit for 3 years, and then you reevaluate. Is Jordan the dude moving forward, or is this guy the next Patrick Mahomes, right? That's how that would work. It's just that important of a position. Could you imagine if that did happen? Twitter would go, oh my God.
Dude.
In Green Bay, the draft in Green Bay.
Oh my God, I forgot about it. No, man, I don't know how that would even.
I don't want it to happen is what you're thinking, right? But
I don't, but
you just never know, man. You never
yeah.
know. So, Drew D asked the important question here, though. He said, what's everyone eating for party food tonight? Jacob, what's your go-to for Super Bowl parties typically, man? What is it?
Man, I gotta watch what I eat nowadays. I got stomach issues, but you gotta have
they just say it. You're getting old like me.
I'm getting old, dude. It stinks. You gotta have some sort of like quality dip, usually like a guac or like some sort of bean dip or queso or something like that. But I always do. I got ribs. We just put ribs in. They're slow cooking, like ultra slow cooking, completely fall off the bone. Usually throw some wings in at least, and then I got a couple steaks I'm going to be cooking up as well. I'm going to try to do just a bunch of meat, you know.
You got to have the meat missile, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
yep. We on the way back from Lexington yesterday, we went and watched the Cats play. Me and my sister and Mandy. We took Mandy's mama with us too. They had never seen Kentucky play at Rupp, so we went to Rupp, and it was great. Good food. Awesome time. On the way back, we stopped in a little hole in the wall. It's called Roma. They got two restaurants, Roma 1 and Roma 2, and they're little Italian joints. And we got pizza there. We got a Sicilian-style pizza, which the crust is like that thick, right? Just huge deep dish type pizza. Not Chicago-style deep dish. When I say deep dish, I'm talking about just thick crust. And the other one, we did a white pie. You ever had a white pie before, Jake?
A what?
A white pie. It's a pizza. They call it a white pie.
No, is that like the Alfredo sauce and all that?
It's similar to Alfredo. It's not actually Alfredo. It's got ricotta. It's got all kinds of different cheese on it, but there's no red sauce on it. I get it, and I add pepperoni. And I've had a lot of great white pies. There's a place in town called Crazy Tomato that's awesome. But this place, best white pie I've ever had, man. So we got a bunch of that from last night. It's going in the oven with a little extra layer of cheese, kind of freshen it up. Oh, my God, man.
What did you send me a picture of? Was those cannolis?
What's that?
You sent a picture in the group chat. Were those cannolis?
Those are cannolis, sir. Yes, we got cannolis too. I have one for breakfast. Great. Got to get the day started right.
Breakfast of champions right there.
Yeah, you guys are wondering about my medical conditions. There you go. That's all you need to know. The diet, I promise you. So, all right, anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up, Jake?
No. Do we have a possible idea as to when we're doing another show, or what should we tell the
So here's the deal. I got to find out what our plans are for the Super Bowl tonight. Again, Mandy's still asleep. Like, we rode into town. We didn't stay in Lexington. We drove up, watched the game, came back. So let me find out from her what the plan is. If she gives me the green light, like, yeah, you can go live during the Super Bowl, we'll do a little Super Bowl watch party. That's cool with you guys. So if that's the case, then we'll go live at, say, I don't know. We'll probably go. We could go live at the normal time, or we could go live right when the Super Bowl kicks off. Like I said, it's highly likely that she's got plans already. So let me check.
What do you think about maybe like 5 o'clock God's time, Central Time, and then just maybe do a little bit of a half an hour pregame, and then we just watch the beginning and maybe hop off at that time?
It's possible. Let me see what she's got going on. You guys keep your ear to YouTube. You'll see the link go up if we do schedule one. If she's got something planned, Jacob, I'll text you. That way, you know, okay. I'll let the guys know, hey, we're not doing one this morning, or this afternoon. So, sound good?
Yeesh.
All right, man. Cool. Well, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us, man. This is it's a lot of fun. We covered a lot, man. We talked a little bit about the trade talk heating up in the wide receiver market. I'm kind of still holding firm, like, hey, I'd rather go get somebody in free agent. Of all the conversation we had today, I did not imply my personal preference, which is go get Chris Godwin. I'd like to see him go get Chris Godwin for the right price, of course. I'm not saying break the bank, but if you can get him for the right type of deal, kind of like the Xavier McKinney type. Everybody was like, boy, they must have overpaid for Xavier McKinney. The way Goot attacks those top-tier free agents, Jacob, this is what my understanding is. He goes to them early. Here's our best offer. Take it or leave it. And if they say, hey, I want to hang around, let me see if I get a better offer. Okay, we're going to move on then. We're going to go ahead and pull that. If you go to Chris Godwin with a good offer and say, hey, here's what we're willing to give you, take it or leave it, and he takes it, awesome. And that's how you look up and you see, the easy cap hits for Xavier McKinney in the first year, and the second year isn't that bad either for a guy who made All-Pro. So we'll see, though, man. Like Drew said here, Dalman would be a good choice there. Might be cheap because he's a center. Very good point, Drew. I'd be all over Dalman too, man. That's the best center in free agency for sure.
Dude, so. Get Godwin, Dalvin, and Mack. Psh, Super Bowl.
Oh, my God. And then just build depth through the draft, baby.
Yeah, dude.
That would be absolutely awesome. And then here's what you do then, right? You can't. I was going to say you have one of those guys announce the pick, but free agency is going to happen. No, you could. You could. Hold up a minute.
Yeah, you could.
Imagine that. Imagine Khalil Mack walks out on the stage in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And with the 23rd pick, the Green Bay
Packers, Mike Green.
yeah. Or the Green Bay Packers select, my pick personally, the way the board's falling right now, Kenneth Grant. Packers take Kenneth Grant.
That'd be cool.
Right. Be cool. And then in the second round, what happens, Jacob? In the second round, Chris Godwin walks on the stage.
Takes Jaden Higgins or
whoever's the best one. Jack Besh, maybe somebody like that. Bro, let's go.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. J. Cole says, wouldn't Reed and Godwin be similar? Not at all.
No.
Godwin, I think, is, if I remember correctly, I think he's 6'1", and Godwin is a dude that typically played outside. He can play in the slot, don't get me wrong, but he's a dude that you can line up all over the field. Chris Godwin, think Greg Jennings type, right? Jennings made some hay in the slot, don't get me wrong, but, man, you could put him on the outside too. That type of receiver is kind of what I comp Godwin to. Just good all-around player. A good all-around player, which makes him a great football player. I mean, he's good at route running. He's got good hands. He's got good everything, That's just me. Yeah, there you go, Drew D. That's what I was thinking. 6'1", 209. So, enough size, right? But he's not. Now, listen, he's not Jaden Higgins, 6'4", 6'3" and a quarter, what, 3 3/4, whatever it was. So, there you go. So, all right. Appreciate you guys. This was fun. We'll see you possibly tonight, if not tomorrow morning for a show. But like I said, keep your ear to the streets and see if a link goes up on YouTube. Jacob, thank you for your time, man.
Yeah.
All right. And special shout out to the Super Chat, Josh Martin. Thank you for supporting the show, buddy. You're too kind. We'll see y'all possibly tonight or tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great day. Hydrate, drink water before you get ready for that game tonight. All right. We'll talk to y'all soon.
And we go. We out.
Bye, guys.